Hey guys, how's it going? So, in anywhere from 1 year to 5 years, um, my ex-wife will be uh, either selling the condo that I used to live in with her, or getting a buyout from a real estate deal that could have her get 50% more than the value of her condo, because they might take the condo, bulldoze it, and build brand new condominium tower in its place. So that may or may not happen within a year to 5 years. Who knows? So that means she'll be paying me the half of the value of the condo. Now, some people will say, "Well, you should have that money right now." Um, I could push that, but honestly, my kids are priority number one, and making sure that they have a good place to live and are comfortable and safe is priority number one. So I I'm not worried about it. It'll happen when it happens. So when that money comes, I will have an option of buying a new van, and I may just do that. Now, what I really need to do is just hunker down and get 10 years out of the current van I'm in, because there's nothing wrong with this van. I could easily get 10 years out of it. So that's plan A, is to drive this van for 10 years, and then at the end of the 10 years have that money saved from the condo sale to buy probably the last van I ever buy for the rest of my life. If I intend to live in the van for the rest of my life, which I might very well do. So the van life looks like, for me, it's going to be a long-term thing. Um, Unless I find a situation that changes, maybe I'll change my mind. Who knows? But right now, it looks that way. So, having said all that, I think it would be interesting or useful to look at three different kinds of vans that are at this point in late June 2016, the best option for full-time living. And that would be the Sprinter, the Ford Transit, not the Connect, the bigger van, the Ford Transit, and the Ram ProMaster. So let's take a look at some different particulars of each van, and see, basically give my opinion about what I think is going to be the best for full-time living. All right, so let's take a look here. So, as a lot of you guys know, these Sprinter vans are very nice. Gorgeous vans. The good thing about them, there's lots of good things about them. There's a lot of different styles you can get, a lot of different wheelbase lengths and roof heights. Lots of options. Dualies, single axles, all kinds of interesting things. My concern with the Sprinter vans, and why I'm starting with them, is I will never buy a Sprinter. The number one reason is expense. They're a lot more... Oh, that's not a Sprinter. Oh, maybe it is, actually. Huh. They're a lot more expensive to buy, and they're a lot more expensive to maintain. They have the diesel engine that has a lot of pollution controls on it, and are seemingly difficult to diagnose and repair, from what I've read. And because they're Mercedes, they can be quite expensive, as I have to bring them to a Mercedes dealer who has specialized tools to fix them with. So for those reasons, I will never buy a Sprinter. Okay, let's talk about the Dodge Ram ProMaster. Now, there's some things that are really great about this van, and some things not so great. I wish my phone would focus better, quicker. Um, one of the things I like about the ProMaster is that for living in it, it has a large cargo volume area. In fact, so basically, this between the end of the seats to the back, I believe is 160 inches, versus the 133 of the Ford Transit. So that's one issue that's a big plus, especially if you're living in it. You want as much space as possible. Number two is if you can see this is going to get blurry for a second here. If you can see under here, see my little blue felty thing here, the step between the pavement and up here is quite a bit shorter to step up than on the Ford Transit. So as I get older, that will be more of an issue, I'm sure. Okay, Ford Transit. This is not the Transit Connect. This is the regular van, the regular larger van. The Transit Connect is the smaller vans. Anyway, the Ford Transit advantages. It's better overall from all the reading that I've done. The Transit is a nice driving van, versus the ProMaster. One of the major things against it is that it's apparently not that comfortable to drive. The seating arrangement with the way you can adjust the driver's seat is not great, and compared to the Ford Transit and the reviews that I've seen, the Ford Transit is a much nicer vehicle to drive. So one of the major advantages of going to the Ford Transit is its mechanical reliability. I think versus the ProMaster, I think they're just a better built van. Specifically, the transmission. The transmission on the ProMaster, from the reviews I've seen and the videos I've seen, is kind of clunky. And if you watch the way, there's a video review I saw on YouTube, and you can literally hear the thing shifting in a way that just doesn't give you a good, strong sense of confidence in it. Now, that's a brand new van, so give it 10 or 15 years, then see how it does. That's a question mark. With the Ford Transit, it's a different story. It's a much better designed van, I think. And in a lot of ways, I like the ProMaster better in terms of van dwelling, in terms of its interior size and the low height from the pavement to the step up on the side door. But mechanically, there's no doubt that the Transit is better. Sorry, I should be flipping through these. So if you can see, I'll pull my little pen thingy out again. From here to there is a lot higher than on the ProMaster. I don't have exact numbers, but you can Google that if you like. Okay, now let's take a look at some different options you have with the Ford Transit. Now, for me, let's see if I can show this. If you can see my little white circle there, I would get the long wheelbase, the 148-inch wheelbase, because I want the high roof. The high roof is 77 inches interior, as you can see right here. The medium roof is only 72 inches. Now, it almost works. 72 inches almost works, but by the time you put 2 inches of insulation in the roof and maybe a plywood floor, which is going to be at least half an inch, and maybe half an inch or an inch of insulation, you're losing like 4 inches or 3 inches of height. So now you have 69 inches. And because I'm exactly 6 feet tall, I don't want to be bending over. I want some height. So 77 inches means I have to have the high top, the very highest roof, which is this one right here, 77 inches. Which means I cannot have the shorter wheelbase. Shorter wheelbase means it's going to be easier to drive, easier to park. things like that. And honestly, I don't really need a huge amount of room inside. Like, I mean, it's definitely nice to have it, but it's kind of a trade-off you have to think about. Like with my van right now, it's big, and I would love to have a shorter wheelbase in terms of driving it. So it's like I said, it's a trade-off versus driving it and living in it. Anyway, so I would get the high roof with the long wheelbase. I don't want the extended huge wheelbase. It just becomes crazy. So if you can see in the center of the screen, I got my little blue pen thing going again. Um, Here they have 53 inches between the wheelbase, the wheel wells, I should say. Now that's a really important number because you need to figure out, if you can see where my pen is up here above the wheel well, it's about a foot, maybe 18 inches above the wheel well is going to be the widest part of the van. And for me, that's really important because that dictates how long I can make my bed. And I need a minimum of 72 inches would be nice. Now, from what I've read, it's going to be about 72 to 74 inches. I need to find out that exact number. Okay, so I did find some information on the internet on a forum. I think it was the Ford Transit Forum. And they said this guy is making a post, and I want to direct your attention to this area right here. Let's get my little red marker here. Red. He says, I have an across the bed platform roughly 32 inches above the van steel floor. I have 1.5 inches of rigid insulation in the window dents. That means where the windows would be, but there are no windows. It's just, that's the way they make it. So that gives him a bed length of 74 inches. And he says you could get a little longer bed length if the bed surface is high enough that extends into the window indents. So that's interesting. So he's saying you can get a length of 74 inches for a bed. Okay, guys, let's look at some pros and cons of each, the ProMaster and the Transit. And I'm trying to organize this a bit so it's easier to understand than me just blabbing away. So the ProMaster Pros, you have the shorter wheelbase. Oh, I want to make that in small letters. Shorter wheelbase is what has more cargo volume than the Transit's short wheelbase. So another pro of the ProMaster, pun intended, the sliding door entrance has a lower height, basically from the pavement, I guess you'd call it. That's a major plus. And I'm not 100% positive about this, but the final one is, I think, the width across the back of the van above the wheel wells is, what do you want to say, bigger, greater, longer. So those are the pros of the ProMaster. Let's look at the cons. Big one, transmission. I don't trust it. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm working under false information. But from what I've read, for lots of different opinions, people have said that transmission looks like it might have problems down the road. Who knows for sure? Give it 10 years. Maybe it'll be fine. But I'm going to call it a con. Another one is it's only front wheel drive. This means that if you have a lot of stuff in the back and it's heavier than your engine, then the vehicle is going to have a hard time gripping the surface of the pavement because its front wheels are going to be have less contact with the pavement because it's kind of like a fulcrum effect. And if it's less, if the cargo weight is heavier than the engine, it's going to go up like a teeter-totter, like children's playground equipment. So that could be a bad thing, especially if you live in somewhere where there's lots of snow and ice. That could be a really bad thing. For me, I don't think it's that big of a deal because I live in Vancouver and it doesn't really snow here that much. The final con I'm going to say is the driving experience is subpar compared to the Transit. Okay, let's look at Transit. Ford, capitals, Transit. Pros. Better overall mechanically, let's say. I just trust it better than the Dodge ProMaster, specifically the transmission and everything else. That is the biggest pro. I can't see a bigger pro than that. Oh, the other one is better driving experience. And by the driving experience, I mean more comfortable. Of course, there's a lot of stuff I'm missing here, guys. This is just kind of a few things to think about. If you want to do your own research and spend a lot of in-depth time, that's great, but this video would be 2 hours long if I went through everything. So I'm not going to do that. What are the cons of the Ford Transit? You're kind of forced to buy the high top, or I'm going to call it high roof, to get adequate height. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change that. You're forced to buy the high roof / long wheelbase to get enough standing height, which I believe they said is 77 inches. I'll just say which is 77 inches. So they kind of force you to do that. They don't really, in a lot of ways, the ProMaster is more ideal in terms of living space. Now, the long wheelbase is going to mean you're going to have a harder time parking it. And with this van, I can tell you that I'm currently in my Chevy 3500. I don't know. It's definitely a longer van. I don't exactly know how long it is, but it's not fun to park it. And that is definitely a con to me, to have a long wheelbase. I'd rather have a short wheelbase. Of course, then you have less space inside as well. So, pros and cons. Okay, what is another con of the Ford? Well, it's actually more expensive. It's probably going to be $5,000 or more than the ProMaster. Definitely from what I've seen in the Craigslist, or the ads that I've seen on Craigslist or in the paper and stuff, the internet, the ProMaster is usually a few $1,000s cheaper. can't think of any more cons. So anyways, guys, that's all I'm going to say about this. Basically, if you want to do more searching around, um, you can go ahead and do that to get more information. But this is just kind of like an overall viewpoint of mine as to how these two vans compare. Um, so I hope that's helpful. Okay, guys. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good night.